Hey, welcome to my very first Let's Play, and I'm going to start with a game called Mountain Blade Warband. So the first question is, well, the first one was, are you male or female? I said male. But you were born years ago in a land far away. Your father was an impoverished noble, a traveling merchant, a veteran warrior, a hunter, a steppe nomad, a thief, and go back. I think we're going to go with a veteran warrior. As a child, your family scrapped out a meager living from your father's wages as a guardsman to the local lord. It was not an easy existence, and you were too poor to get much of an education. You learned mainly how to defend yourself on the streets with or without a weapon in hand. You started to learn about the world almost as soon as you could walk and talk. You spent your early life as a page at a nobleman's court, craftsman apprentice, a shop assistant, a street urchin, a stepchild. Yeah, we're going to go with the page. As a boy growing out of childhood, you were sent to live in the court of one of the nobles of the land. There, your first lessons were in humility, as you waited upon the lords and ladies of the household. But from their chess games, their gossip, even the poetry of great deeds and courtly love, you began to learn about the adult world of conflict and competition. You also learned from the rough games of the other children, who battered at each other with sticks in imitation of their elders' swords. Then as a young adult, life changed as it always does. You became a squire, a troubadour, a university student, a goods peddler, a smith, and a game poacher. We're going to go with the first one again, the squire. Though the distinction felt sudden to you, somewhere along the way you had become a man, and the whole world seemed to change around you. When you were named squire to a noble at court, you practiced long hours with weapons, learning how to deal out hard knocks and how to take them too. You were instructed in your obligations to the Lord, and one of your duties to those who might one day be your vassals. But in addition to learning the chivalric ideal, you also learned about the less uplifting side, old warrior stories of ruthless power politics, of betrayals and usurpations, of men who used guile as well as valor to achieve their aims. But soon everything changed, and you decided to strike out on your own adventure as an adventurer. What made you take this decision was personal revenge, loss of a loved one, wanderlust, being forced out of your home, and lust for money and power. I'm gonna go with we'll go wanderlust. Only you know what it caused you to give up your old life and become an adventurer. You're not even sure when your home became a prison, when the familiar became mundane, but your dreams of wandering have taken over your life. Whether you yearn for some faraway place or merely the open road and the freedom to travel, you could no longer bear to stay in the same place. You simply went and never looked back. Become an adventurer and ride to your destiny. I'm gonna go with Capo. I always put one in charisma so I can get my leadership skill up, which allows you to get more soldiers. But I'm gonna put up my strength as much as possible because I want to be a good fighter, obviously. But oh man. Basically, those decisions that I just made, basically they help you decide, or they help how high your strength is, your intelligence, your agility, your charisma. Say if I was a university student, my intelligence would be higher, and I'd be better at being an engineer or first aid or surgery or something like that. I like to just use a sword and shield, so I'm gonna go with that. And I guess you usually start with a crossbow, so I'm gonna go one into that, I guess. I'll fast forward through this because I usually take a while to edit my characters. And there we go. That is Capo. He worked as a page. He became a squire. His father was an impoverished noble, and now he has set out on his own adventure according to his wanderlust. Let's get going. You hear about already a land torn between rival kingdoms, battling each other for supremacy. A haven for knights and mercenaries, cutthroats and adventurers, all willing to risk their lives in pursuit of fortune, power, or glory. In this land, which holds great dangers and even greater opportunities, you believe you may leave your past behind and start a new life. You feel that finally you hold the key to your destiny in your hands, free to choose as you will, and that whatever courses you take, oh, and that whatever courses you take, great adventures will await you. Drawn by the stories you hear about Calradia and its kingdoms, you join a caravan to Praven. Praven and the Kingdom of Swadia are like Sweden, like the Swedish soldiers. They're really good cavalry soldiers. Ravened is the Kingdom of the Nords or Vagirs. I actually never learned how to pronounce it, but they're like the great footmen soldiers. Toga is the Kurgit Kanate. That's how I say it. They're really good lancers, really good lancer horsemen. Actually, the Vagirs, my bad, aren't the Nords. The Vagirs, my bad. They're really good archers. I'm sorry for that. Sargoth is the Kingdom of the Nords, and they're the really great footmen soldiers, like the infantry soldiers. You can take a ship to Jelkala in the Kingdom of Rhodox. They're like the Italian classic crossbowmen. They're really good too. They're really good crossbowmen. They're really bad infantry, especially if you play on the harder difficulties. And the final one is join a caravan to Shariz in the Serenid Sultanate. And what I have figured they're really good archers, but I'm not sure what they're actually supposed to be good as. But I think I'm going to start off with Sargoth, the Kingdom of the Nords. I usually start with Swadia, but I'm going to do something a little bit different. You took passage with a trading longship carrying your falcons from the furthest reaches of the north to be bartered for linen and wool. It sailed early in the season, but the master reckoned that the risks of drifting ice and later winter storms could be justified by arriving ahead of the sea raiders, who by April would be sailing forth from their island lairs to ravage Calradia's coasts. It was some relief when your ship came in sight of the delta of Vile and Boluk rivers, and a short while later rode past tidal flats and coastal marshes to the city of Sargoth, home to the sea raiders' distant kinsmen, the Nordic lords, who a few generations ago had carved themselves a kingdom in this rich but troubled land. You were exhausted by the time you found the inn in Sargoth and fall asleep quickly. However, you awake before dawn and are eager to explore your surroundings. You venture out onto the streets, which are still deserted. All of a sudden, you hear a sound that stands the hairs of your neck on end, the rasp of a blade sliding from its scabbard. No. Later on, you can get your crossbow skill higher. I usually don't even use the crossbow, and I go with the sword and shield, just because the crossbow is pretty weak at first, especially when you can't even aim, and it's really inaccurate. Here is the Merchant of Sargoth. You alright? Well, I guess you're alive. At any rate, I'm not sure that we can stay the same for the other fellow. That's one less thief to trouble our streets at night. Although, heaven knows, he won't be the last. Anyway, maybe you can help me with something. Let's talk more inside. Out here, we don't know who's listening. The merchant takes you to his house. Once inside, he stands by the door for a while, checking the street, and then, finally convinced you have not been followed, comes near you to speak. And you know what? I'm going to cut this episode off here. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. It would do me a big favor. I'll check out your guys' accounts if you subscribe and like and comment and whatever. Again, thanks for watching. Make sure you watch part 2.